Welcome to This Week in West Hempstead, sponsored this week by Stern & Spiegel, LLP, 5168-731-683. Let us solve your problems. And by Tiffany Dry Cleaners, pickup and delivery in West Hempstead and surrounding communities, 718-309-5222. And by our friends at I&D Glot Market, 327 Hempstead Avenue, for all of your shopping needs. Here, host David Norm. Take it away, gentlemen.
All right, thank you, Dan, and thank you, Norm. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Gorgeous Thursday morning.
Unbelievable. We've got a little warm weather coming up. We'll start off. There was a fatal car accident 2 days ago by the Cornwell Elementary School. Elderly person got struck by a vehicle. We don't have a lot of details. According to the police report, the driver did stay on the scene. The West Hempstead School District did put out a robo phone alert alerting both parents and faculty and students that the parking lot and I guess certain entrances and exits to the school were closed during the police investigation, and it certainly was all cleared up by the time I got there, and there we go.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, look, as my wife has pointed out, there's a fair amount of speed on that street, people coming off of Dogwood Avenue, whatever it may be. And again, it's one of these things. We don't know what happened, who is at fault. It's not the safest corner to be crossing.
No.
We had that problem on Hempstead Avenue in general at Roosevelt, where the crossing guard is constantly dodging cars. I'm surprised she hasn't been hit over the years, and we've had relatively few accidents compared to the amount of traffic that we get.
Yeah, God forbid. And we are like a giant cross street, if you will, between the Southern State and Garden City. So people just think that hey, there's no speed limit. And the truth is, from exit 17, all the way to as you get to Front Street, it's just one big game of Frogger. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Do we know that they actually turned on that new Lindbergh traffic light yet?
Last time I checked, which was a couple of days ago, no. So you would and also you would think someone on social media would
have said something.
At this point, it's almost going to be as monumental as lighting the Christmas tree. I mean, how long does it take?
It's a big switch.
Let's not go there. In other news, lots of not such good news. There was an armed robbery that took place at the Millennium Dry Cleaners.
Right.
Millennium Dry Cleaners is on Hempstead Turnpike. There was a chopper that was circling overhead, and that was sort of the first inclination that was something was going on, and then social media kind of lit up with what was happening, and it's bad sign of the times.
Yeah, what little I had heard was that there were two suspects. I mean, there were police driving around on the ground as well, and I mean, we haven't heard that they actually found anybody. I find it somewhat odd. I mean, I have used that cleaners. I mean, I don't pay with cash, so I don't know how much was there, but I guess it's one of those opportunity things where somebody figures they can grab a couple of bucks or something.
Yeah, and I've also used them, and a lot of dry cleaners are still cash-based, so they do have cash on hand. And also that particular cleaner, it's just, it's right on the turnpike, so you can get up and go and be out of the community in 30 seconds. So
that's why I have my dry cleaning picked up by another cleaner.
Yes.
Who do I use?
Yeah, well, we should. Bad segue, but the if you use Tiffany Dry Cleaners with their free pickup and delivery, you really don't have to have any of these issues. And,
it's the safest way to go, and they do a great job.
Not only safest, but Jeff Wanger and his organization really, really do an unbelievable job. And
maybe this is a good opportunity for us to then introduce you to Jeff with a commercial break right here.
All right.
Back in a minute.
Tiffany Dry Cleaner is ready to handle all your cleaning, laundering, and dry cleaning needs. We offer free pickup and delivery Sunday to Friday in all communities. Give us a shot.
All right, and lots going on at the school board in school board meetings. We don't have to wait necessarily for election times and lawn signs coming up about school boards. There was a recent meeting, and there were two items of note. It was kind of long. I was looking at it on YouTube, but there were two items there that were interesting. One item has to do with allowing or not allowing Zoom calls or people to Zoom in on the board meeting. Apparently they've been doing this as a courtesy during COVID, and it's continued, but they continue to run into issues, logistical issues, identifying who people are. It sounded like it was very disruptive to the ongoing operation of the board. So they voted, and I think it's a motion. I don't think it's a rule. I don't know. It's a little technical as to how long this would actually be in place. But they're no longer going to be allowing these Zoom calls, but they will allow the meetings themselves to continue to be streamed.
So again, to be clear, you can't ask questions or participate if you're dialing in by Zoom, but you can still watch it. Is that the idea?
That is the idea. And again, from what I understood at the board meeting, most school boards, or at least most school boards in New York or in Long Island, do not allow for Zoom participation, and you can get Zoom bombed and all sorts of weird stuff going on. The other item was also really interesting, and regarding the universal pre-K. And there was an item that was brought to the attention of the school board that there were 40 open seats that were already funded, but they weren't filled. And the question was raised as to whether or not they could be filled by non-public or private organizations. And there was a lot of discussion going back and forth in this meeting, but the upshot of it was that they were the school board was going to put out an RFP for the 40 seats, and everyone agreed to go do that. And they're going to start the process. That does not mean that there's an immediate solution. As we know, the wheels of government turn, a little slowly. But certainly sounds like a good positive move.
So I think it's more of a technical
quick question. What do we mean by funded? When you say funded, who's funding?
So this funding, I believe I could be 50% right or wrong.
It's either federal or state grant.
Or federal. I believe that it's a state funded program, and they do it by number of seats.
And then the question is whether or not the school board has a right to reassign some of that money that they've been granted, since it's unused, to private sector.
Right, and from what I understand too, they don't necessarily lose that money. It just doesn't get used at this point. Gets a little bit complicated, but I think the fact that the school recognize, and it doesn't go to the reserve fund.
That was my question.
I think the fact that the school recognized that here's an opportunity to take best usage of the funds, and that they're going to look at it, I think is all positive. Apparently, part of the qualifications are that the private institution has to be a legitimate private institution. Can't be, for
it has
example,
to be licensed by the
license
state.
And can't be a backyard, type of thing.
Of course.
Can't be out of the district. And
it has to meet the qualifications that the public education provides.
And whoever these kids are with these 40 seats at some foreseeable time, those get assigned by a lottery. So it's very specific per child, meaning that if a private organization gets X dollars of money, they can't just spread it around and reduce their overall tuition cost. It's for these number of kids who get free tuition. So I thought it was really interesting.
Definitely.
And wow, so across the street from the middle school, we got Echo Pool. And Echo Pool is in full swing. I mean, it's operating. The pool is full, and we no longer have to talk about it. I think is probably the.
But we can't help it.
The most important part. Yeah, it's. We'll have to find another big issue to go on about.
To rant about.
There is an item that was picked up on social media. As you know, there's a lot of concern in the community regarding what's happening in Israel, and there's a lot of people who have been directly impacted. And
the big issue is somebody driving around picking up signs of Israel support off of lawns. It's a light-colored BMW sedan with an offset license plate on the front. If you see it, you should call 911. Obviously, it's not a horrific problem, but it is truly disturbing.
Yeah, it's a lot of people have lawn signs out for whatever their causes are, and you know what? It's a free country.
That's
You're
right.
allowed to have it out there.
We've got to keep it free.
Yeah, they are. I mean, according to, again, social media reports, the cops from the precinct are actually tracking this. So it may look like a misdemeanor and relatively small, but they have asked that if something happens, again, if you see the vehicle, please let them know, because they're chasing this down. Obviously, we've seen a number of cases around New York City, around the world, where there's real threats going on. So,
well, I'm not sure this is a real threat, but they can escalate easily. Somebody pulls something off their lawn, then the guy on the lawn does something to retaliate, and you don't want it to go there.
Absolutely.
So, let's try and nip this one.
Yep. And
how are the Rams doing?
The Rams. So you know what? The Rams are coming back. The Rams won. They won 42-14 over Wheatley Carl Place last week. They've improved their record to 2-4. So they're getting there.
And you got next game coming up?
Yeah, next game's coming up against Cold Spring Harbor. Now, Cold Spring Harbor is a real powerhouse. They're 6-1. So the Rams will have their hands full, but it's always go Rams around West Hempstead.
And that's the news for the week.
Yeah, that'll do it for This Week in West Hempstead. Thank you, Norm. Thank you, Dan. And join us next week on This Week in West Hempstead.
Enjoy the weather.
thanks for watching, everybody. If you would like to sponsor our program, much like Tiffany Dry Cleaners, I&D, and Stern & Spiegel, please reach out to us at sales@westhempsteadecho.com.